Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to PayU UpStart. I'm Mansa. I'm your host for the day. Um, UpStart Live is a series of sessions that we do at PayU for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. We bring in subject matter experts like Shashank here to talk about various topics. This could be daily operations like marketing, sales, etc., and other work-related topics like fundraising, right? Things that you need to scale your startup with. So, Shashank, we have here, he's our speaker today. He's the founder VC at 100x.vc. He is a friend of Upstart because he's been a part of Upstart before as well when we used to do the online sessions. So, thank you, Shashank. Thank you so much for doing this with us. Over to you, a little introduction, and then we can go into the questions. Before we start off, the audience is free to drop your questions for the speaker here. We will be getting it as a comment here and we will be answering it. This is everything related to fundraising, scaling, and anything that you would like to ask our speaker. Please feel free. He is a founder himself plus a VC, so nothing, no limit on the questions, right? So please drop your questions here. We'll pick it up. And thank you so much for being here with us today, Shashank. Over to you.
Thanks, Manasa, and good to meet you virtually. Last time we met was, at least 2 years, 2.5 years back when you were I think we just started 100x.vc, and you've always been kind enough to kind of, keep inviting 100x and engaging with us, and we really, really appreciate that. So thank you once again for giving us the opportunity. And, while I can't see the audience, but, thank you all for taking out the time. It's good to be here. And, whenever we are, traveling to Bangalore, I hope to meet a lot of you folks in person. I'm currently based in Bombay, and hopefully traveling to Delhi next week to meet my first set of in-person engagements with entrepreneurs. So I'm the founder VC at 100x.vc. We are an early stage fund, and what we've done over the last 3 years, when we started the fund in July of 2019, was to kind of identify very early stage opportunities and be the first check in these companies. And the motivation to start something like this, a discovery fund, was more from a perspective of all five partners and all five founding members uh, coming from different vantage points. So we've got Sanjay, who's the founder partner. We've got Ninad Karpe, who's the partner. We've got Yagnesh Sangrachka, who's the founder and CFO. Myself, and then Vatsal, who's the principal and CTO. All of us had spent some amount of years dealing with startups. Sanjay as an avid angel investor with 130 plus personal angel investment portfolio. Ninad being the ex CEO for Aptech and ex managing director for Computer Associates. Uh, Yagnesh was the ex-CFO for Mahesh Tutorials and ex-operating partner for Besame Venture Partners. I was the founding member for VC Circle and headed their SaaS platform called VCCH, which was, dealing with a lot of private equity funds and VC funds. And then Vatsal, who had worked with, a bunch of angel networks. So all of us realized that there was a gap in terms of the number of companies which were emerging in the ecosystem and their ability to raise the first check. And there wasn't an institutionalized process or a fund which was taking the risk of investing in very early stage entrepreneurs. And with that in mind, we started 100x.vc with the objective of being the first check into these companies and the ability to raise the money, deploy the money into the company through this instrument which we launched called iSafe, which is India's simple agreement for future equity, and which enables founders to raise money, not dilute equity upfront, close the transaction within 15-20 days, which is huge in India, and then move to the next level of building what they had envisioned, and taking the company from there on. So we decided to do this, and we launched the fund in 2019, and all our investments happen through iSafe, which is India's simple agreement for future equity. The details can be found on our website, and we did 20 investments by September of 2019. Our ticket size was 25 lakhs per company, so we did 5 crores worth of investment in one go. And like this, we've done now 80 investments, uh, all 25 lakhs per company, and we have now increased our check size to 1.25 crores. So we do investments in cohorts or classes. So we've done 80 investments over class 01 to class 07, and for class 08, where we intend to invest in a large set of companies, the ticket size per company is going to be 1.25 crores per company. So that's a very quick overview. We are an early stage fund which is investing in through iSafe, which is India's simple agreement for future equity. It enables first time entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs to raise money quickly and not dilute equity in their company, so that there is no inherent valuation assigned. And it's an easy instrument for companies to kind of grow and kind of take in money and start building out their products. So that's a very quick overview, but I'll take on questions as they keep coming.
I think we already did got a question while we were introducing ourselves. So Subhash asked how to get the reasons for rejecting investors. How can we get that?
Many investors will not possibly have the time to decide. The very fact that many investors they respond is in itself appreciable. I think what you need to do when you understand you get rejected is to figure out what could be the reasons why an investor rejects, right? And there are and this is applicable across investor stage. Either your business uh, is failing on these four parameters, right? So you have to answer yourself, right? And then you have to look at the investor's profile and see where it goes, because not every investor will have the time to come back to you and give you specific reason into why they were rejected. uh, First reason is the founding team in place. And one reason for rejection can be, are the founding team full time or part time, right? And investors typically stay away from teams which are not full time, right? Somebody has their own separate business and they're not running properly, doing their business properly. They think, okay, this is a side hustle. I will build something and then I will figure out. So many businesses get rejected on that. Second reason for rejection is the market opportunity big? Just because you would having a couple of beers with your friends and suddenly something hit your idea that, okay, let me start something like this. But when you start building out, you've not done enough research that it could be a market only applicable to Koramangala in Bangalore, as an example, right? And not applicable to Bombay, Delhi. It's not big. And VCs like to invest in big businesses, bigger opportunities which can grow exponentially. So that could be the second reason: is your market big enough? The third is your business model, right? And this is business model can evolve, but you've not thought through your business model. It's not scalable, right? Today you're just selling 1 plus 1. Can it become 1 into 100 and plus 20, right? Those kind of thinking needs to come in your business model. So many times business founders are rejected on that. The fourth point is in terms of no moat, no IP, right? Now you could be a technology company and you could have moat in terms of product, and that is one reason why you can get selected. But if you don't have, then that is one reason why you get rejected. The other times founders will say, boss, we are not a technology company. Technology is an enabler. Like we've invested in a company called Kerala Banana Chips, right? No technology, just great chips. And the reason for investing there was because they had a great product, they had focus, and they were driving sales, right? So in your business, if you don't have that focus emerging out, and there is no initial traction, so hence validation of the product, right? And and it's an execution play if there is no technology, right? If that is missing, then you get rejected. These are largely and broadly the points why a startup would be rejected. And if you're able to answer these questions and continuously build your business, that's when it gets the attention of the VC community.
Absolutely, I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, I have put a few questions together as well. Before going into that, I think you repeated it enough, but then somebody did ask, "What is iSafe again?" Can you just put it out
Yeah,
there
so
again?
iSafe is an instrument which we launched, and it's an open source instrument which is available on our website for founders to raise money. It's a What it translates into is India's simple agreement for future equity. As per the Indian law, it converts into a compulsory convertible preference share (CCPS). It's a condensed five-pager document which can be used between investors and founders to raise money. What it essentially does is you can take money. If I'm a founder, I can take money from Manasa. She can give me 25 lakhs, and I don't have to do any paperwork besides that document. I don't have to give her any equity right up front. I will have to give her equity when I have utilized the money, build a business, and I go to raise my next round. And at that round, so she's become an angel in my life to kind of give that money, right? And I was able to take that money just as a simple click of wire transferring from her account to my account with just this one document, which is legal and holds in the court of law, right? And that's what we felt was required at early stage, right? You don't need complicated documents. You don't require complicated legal structures to kind of raise your first check. When you're just figuring out what you have built out, or maybe you've built up, or you're trying to test it out, and for that you need some capital, right? So that's what iSafe is, and it's available on our website. So feel free to log on to our website and have a look at the document.
So the website is 100x.vc. You can look it up. I think this is for Francis.
Yeah.
He just asking.
Yeah,
So
and
going
within that page, 100x.vc/iSafe, and you'll find the document.
definitely. So, what are the basic things to remember while going into what not to do? But then, what are the basic things an entrepreneur or a founder must remember before they go into fundraising? Basics.
I think, see, you need to understand that you can't be building just because you're starting something and you're not working for a corporate doesn't give you the right to raise money, right? You need to have the mindset. Some people might just end up opening a bakery and think that they can raise money. No, because bakeries can be sometimes a lifestyle business, a hobby business, right? If you've started a business and the business warrants a larger market and you have a mindset to grow very aggressively, right? Uh, that's when you should be raising money from VC. Because once you raise money from VC, you're on a treadmill, right? You're continuously running, you're continuously performing because you need to perform first of all, and you should have the mindset that I have taken this money because I want to grow aggressively. The second most important thing is that uh, you when you're reaching out to an investor, you need to be very, very cognizant about what type of investor you're reaching out to, right? And if you're reaching out, and at what stage are you reaching out to, right? If you're at an idea, don't reach out to an investor because they want to see conviction, right? If you've broken your FD and you've built something out, and you're struggling and you've reached certain milestone, and now you need that extra cash to go to the from 10th client to 100th client, that's a challenge which an investor would like. But if you come to an investor saying that I have an idea, but I'm working somewhere. I need your money to leave my job and then start. Those things don't work out, right? So some of these things you have to keep in mind, have to be full time into it, and just understand the opportunity and how quickly you want to grow. Because once you start working with VC capital, you have to have the mindset of going from pre-series A to series A to series B. That is the mindset you need.
Absolutely. I think you covered that beautifully. How long should a startup wait for the next series? Or is it like you said, it's always running to the next, it's always wanting to finish
It,
that off and go to the
See,
next?
it's not a timeline game, it's about the growth, right? So the founder always needs to worry about how are they going to grow, how are they going to capture the market. VC money is just an enabler for that, right? So today you feel you have captured Bangalore market and you've captured South India market, and now you want to move to the north. And can VC money help you with distribution, with channel partnerships? And obviously that requires money. So can you go and hire a larger team? Does your product require more technical people? Do you want to hire more people because suddenly now you have more number of orders coming in, as an example, right? So uh, so it's not the timeline of when you want to raise the money. It is your mindset of what target you want to reach as a market, in India. And then let's say in 18 months you feel you want to go international, you can go international, and for that you will require money. Then you should start reaching out to investors maybe in the 10th month, because your business plans demand that, and you think you will grow at that pace.
Definitely. So, again, going back to the questions, apart from the right business model, great results in hand and a perfect pitch are important. How to be a differentiator on the D day, given everyone is following the same race?
Didn't understand the question actually. How
So,
to be a differentiator on the
yeah,
D day is like when you're presenting to
when
an
you're
investor.
presenting, yes, seems like
Yeah,
that is the
your
question.
differentiator is what you tell us, right? And you have started the business. What is your mode? Why did you start the business? Why did you build this thing out? Why do you think this is a problem? Why do you think this is a big problem? Why do you think you are going to be a leader? If you are able to answer those questions, we are only learning from you. How are you different from the competitors? What is your moat against the other players in the market? Or are there none? You are the first movers. And if you're the first mover, why are you poised to capture the market, right? So the differentiator is something not what we tell you. The differentiator is what you tell us, and that's when it gets more interesting, right? So the moat needs to be defined by the founder. It's not a PPT. It's about your conviction in that business. And sometimes we've not even looked at a PPT. The founder is so appealing and so convinced about the problem that he's broken our numbers, and he said this is how it's going to work, and this is the new insight into the industry. That's what found investors are looking at, right? So that becomes your differentiator. I mean, we can't build that out for you. There's no way you can differentiate from an investor's perspective on a PPT. It's you who drives that.
Absolutely. So it's on the entrepreneur or the founder to actually pick up that differentiator. Sometimes it's themselves, right? Like it's the founder that's the differentiator. Okay.
Okay.
So one more question. Some investors say they want one format of PPT. Somebody else says another. So what is the actual format, or if is there one?
There is
Both?
none. If you're building a business, you shouldn't worry about PPT. There could be 10 different formats, right? You should know how to convey your story. Never get bogged down by format of a PPT, right? It can be anything. You should be able to that is not a challenge in my perception. If that is a challenge at your end, then I don't you need to rethink. Your objective should be, if I have 10 slides, how can I convey it? If I have 5 slides, how can I convey my story? So you should always have the elevator pitch ready, detailed deck ready, whatever format, right? As long as you know your basics and your strength, which is you've identified a great problem, it's a big problem, you have a great solution, you can convey that solution in terms of business to an investor, how big is that market opportunity, and your competition analysis. Within that, where do you fit in? And if that excites, whether you have to do it in 4 slides, 5 slides, or 10 slides, if you are confident, you can build it out. So PPT format is, I don't think so, a hurdle.
I think that's the last thing anybody has to worry about in the end.
Yes, yes.
So, if some organization has a government grant, is that not validation that the organization is that not validation for that organization? And if they are in the MVP stage, should they go to VCs for expansion and team growth?
Sure. So if they have a grant, that is certainly a validation. That is a great validation that gives investors confidence. And if they are at an MVP stage, yes, they should go to an investor, but they need to understand what type of investor. If you go to an Sequoia or an Axel, which are growth stage VCs, they typically don't come in at MVP. But like us, we are at a seed stage fund. We invest at MVP, early traction, and recurring traction stage. So a seed fund becomes more relevant. So you need to understand as investors how you're relevant to this entire community, and which investor are you going to.
Absolutely, I think that makes a lot of sense. So, can we talk, like, what about the growth market in India? If some startup wants to grow, what is the situation that we are at right now?
Let's get a little more specific. What does that mean?
So the startup is saying that they are growing very aggressively. But can you talk about the growth market in India as a whole right now?
So I think I mean, Francis, I don't know which domain you're working in, but I'm sure in and around your family and your friends, and assuming you are upwards of 30, and then you would have seen the way India is transformed. in tier 2, tier 3 cities, suddenly there's data connection, there's amplified data, there's penetration of data, uh, and then it is giving rise to a huge consumption market. For instance, before TikTok was banned, the largest consumers and promoters of it were coming from tier 2, tier 3. That's just one example. In terms of, uh, your e-commerce platform ability to send out products and it being ordered by tier 2, tier 3 cities is another indicator of growth and the ability of buying by these audiences in these cities. Overall, India is at a great time from a vantage point. The number of startups which have come out are amazing. It's an amazing and exponential number. Out of those companies which have been registered, started, the ability for founders to receive funding has also tremendously increased over the last 10 years. You don't have to look at cyclical quarterly sometimes, right? Some quarters it will fall sometimes, but overall if you do a hard analysis of 10 years, it's been a great decade, and the next decade is even brighter because of the data penetration, and COVID has accelerated with reverse migration a lot of businesses like SaaS, where you are now able to build out businesses. Earlier SaaS businesses were being built out for US markets. Now today you have a domestic market. All the unicorns who've become unicorns in 10 to 5 years are employing large forces. There is a domestic need. So growth in every sector is huge in India. There is enough opportunity in India to build out businesses because we are, the second largest country in the world with the largest population, which now has the buying capacity and consuming capacity of data also. So it's a great market, right? And you really need to identify what the problem statement is in India. And India is a country of problems, right? So there are many problems to be solved. There's so much friction everywhere, so there's an opportunity. So I feel it's a great time, and hence we as a fund also decided that we will invest in 100 companies a year, because we genuinely believe that India has the potential of building out 100 companies each year, which can go to the next stage, and go ahead and raise Series A, Series B, and Series C.
Absolutely. I think that makes that's something to look forward to, definitely. So, what is the one thing that an entrepreneur does that stands out to investors? I know you spoke about a differentiator, but this is a slightly different question. That what is that one thing, or if, maybe that one thing that stands out that an entrepreneur does that
Sure.
an investor definitely believes in them and they want to take it forward.
No, I think there are a bunch of things. I think there's not one thing, because you can't depend on only one thing. There are multiple aspects which needs to be looked at. I think first and foremost is, if let's say it's a technology product, right? The ability of the founder to communicate, I think, is the first and foremost, which is the first parameter for any investor to go out. If the founder is not able to communicate the idea, uh, they might have built the deep, best of technology product, right? But if they're not able to convey the story, the business behind it, right? If they're not a storyteller, it becomes very difficult, right? Because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, you are a salesman. You have to be a salesman, and salesman mean your ability to communicate confidently, your ability to tell a story confidently, right? If you have to ask me that one thing, which then builds into other things which we check for. But I think that is the first thing which you, at least at our level, we look at. The founder's ability to communicate what they've built out is very important. You could be sitting 20 hours in a room building a sci-fi tech, but if you get up and somebody asks you, what are you building? And if you freeze because you try and explain which wire you've connected, as opposed to you've built a great product which can solve the problem of, two suns, energy, or whatever, right? That trait is very important. If you are a founder, you have to be a storyteller. So if I have to pull down one thing which we look for, that is the beginning one.
So, what about due diligence, right? Everybody speaks
Yeah.
of it, everybody knows it's important, but
Right.
how important is it? And what can go wrong in case you don't pay attention to that?
A lot of things can go wrong. I think, it could be a great idea. You've communicated well. There's a great business opportunity, right? But there are many things in a due diligence, right? So, for instance, your technology is outsourced, right? You've not built it in house. That can put a red flag, right? In due diligence, never lie about your customers, right? A lot of times, investors check whether you're actually working with that customer. Then you realize, no, they're not working with those customers. They said they're working with 10, but they're not even converted one, right? And so, in fact, any and everything can go wrong if you've lied even once, right? So you have to be very upfront, very genuine in terms of your product, in terms of your technology stack, in terms of your number of clients, POC stage. And just be genuine, right? And if you're genuine and over and above the opportunity, business model, and founding team, I think then there's nothing which can go wrong. But if there's something amiss, then it will definitely come out in due diligence.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, our so that there was a question in my mind. So, are pitches or are relationships more important? By relationships, I mean the meetings or that interaction that you have with the investors. So, what are more important? What is
No,
more
so I
important?
think I think see, you have to understand and appreciate what pitch means, right? Investors are anyways short on attention span. A pitch is an entry into their schedule, right, and getting some attention and getting them to focus, right? Post that, it's all relationship, right? You come into the office, you present the same pitch, and then we then take a deep dive into your financial projections, your passion of capturing a certain market, right? And just engaging and getting to know the founder face to face as a human being. It is at the end of the day a human connection which is always established. It cannot be done through a pitch, right? So pitch deck, please remember, is only an barrier. It's a sales pitch. It's like an advertisement, right? I'm assuming everybody loves McDonald's, right? Or everybody loves some kind of product they would have seen an advertisement for, right? Similarly, you're pitching an advertisement to us which gets us, okay, fine, I want to test out this thing, right? And then you get us hooked in and you bring us in and you give a great story and we believe that story, we believe in that vision. And that's how the relationship is built, because you let us believe and then you actually do what you've told us, right? So eventually it is step by step on that. Pitch is just one foot in the door. It's not the road to your funding.
I'm trying to unmute. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Is data very important to an investor when you're trying to pitch, or does that?
Sorry, sorry, what?
Are you able to hear me now?
I can. What was
Okay,
the
sorry.
question again?
So, is data very important for a founder to carry when they are going to an investor, or
Yeah,
what is
it really depends, right? Which segment you are in, right? If you're a SaaS company which has the product live and selling, obviously you need to have data in terms of the revenue. If you have a, let's say a social commerce platform or an app which has a number of users and your moat is defined by the number of users, then what's your monthly active usage, what's your daily active, all those data sets are important. And it is on a case to case basis depending on which sector you come to, right? And again, state, if you have reached post your MVP and you've got some traction POC, there are different set of data sets required. If you reached an MVP, your product is just ready, and data sets around validation of product, right? User test case, what happened in the beta use case, right? How many users were able to get onboarded, all those things become important. So data is, I mean, always a good thing to have.
sure? So, I have come to the end of my questions, but I have one before we close, one
Sure.
or two. So,
Sure.
what is the investor market going to look like in the next 5 years, right? So, is it going to be a startup heavy market? Is it going to be an investor heavy market? Now that we have 100 unicorns in India, so what is your thought on 5 years down the line? Because you have been doing this for 2.5, and you have partners in your firm who have been doing this for a while, angel investing and everything else. So, what, according to you, is going to be the scenario in 5 years?
See, this is a great time for startups to be building out businesses. We're only going to see the number of companies increasing, right? And the very fact that we ourselves have started a fund with the vision of investing in 100 companies a year, and now that we've increased the check size from 25 to 1.25 crores, shows that we believe certainly that there's a huge opportunity, right? So you will see that it's not about number of startups or number of investors. I think, and this is not an absolute number. Number of invest startups will always be higher because there is only a finite number of investors. But the ability to invest in Indian holding companies is only going to increase because there'll be great businesses being built out of India. And there will be ups and downs. There will be sometimes some quarters where the funding will be dry. Founders will not receive funding, but that will be because their business is not growing, not because the investors don't want to fund. But it is the next 5 years is a great time. As I say, it is possibly, Manasa, the time where Silicon Valley was in 1960s, late 60s, or China was in early 80s. We don't realize it, but we are sitting on that cusp and that vantage point. And from here on, if we just pull up our sleeves and start executing, uh, it's a great opportunity for India.
So, in other words, there's nothing stopping us, stopping our development in case we just do what needs to be done and just see
Absolutely,
it to execution.
absolutely.
Absolutely. So, anything for startups while we close, Shashank, like a few notes that
Sure.
you would want them to do
No, I
as
think
an
I-
yourself?
yeah, I think don't be afraid of investors. They need you as much as you need them, right? Is my first uh, you know uh, you know pointer to all the founders. Second is, don't get bogged down by PPTs and things like that. uh, if you're confident about your business, then you'll find the answer, right? You'll find the answers of presenting that information, uh, and you'll see through it. Don't be afraid of what investors ask for. Be confident about what you're building, right? And if you are, then investors will pay attention. They will reach out to you. They would want to understand your business, right? um, it's a give and take relationship. Please try and understand. As much as you need funding, we want to fund great companies. If you're able to identify those, why not? And then don't be afraid to fail. This is a great time to experiment strategically. You have everything. You have now for the first time you've got companies who've built out great businesses. So you have case studies, and you can look at other examples. So a great time for starting out, even if you haven't started out earlier, and even if you fail, the culture, the mindset is different today. If I started out and I failed 10, 15 years back, everybody was like, why? We told you to do a 9 to 5 job, right? Today the culture is different. So it is encouraging for first time founders to go out and experiment, right? And you should take advantage of this mental frame which has presented itself in India, right? So don't be afraid to start, even if things fail. You are in an ecosystem which will enable a second time chance also, right? So keep hustling. Don't Great time to be doing any and everything. Keep experimenting. And you've got the support from the ecosystem. You've got the government support. You've got investor support. You've got great folks like Manasa who are organizing these interactions, right? Organization like PayU supporting the ecosystem in their own way. There is just absolutely no reason for founders to keep sitting on the sidelines. This is not a time to sit on the sidelines.
I think that was a great closing. Shashank, thank you so much for doing this with us. Hope to call you again for another session. Thank you to our audience on LinkedIn, YouTube, as well as Facebook. We will continue to do these sessions regularly every week. So join us for our next one whenever we do that. Mostly next week. So we will be informing you on our LinkedIn and on our other channels. Thank you, Shashank, once again. It was wonderful having you back as our speaker. See you soon.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mansa. Thank you so much. Take care, guys. Bye.